it's letting me in now. It changed.
Okay, cool.
Chris.
Awesome. I'm really bad at Zoom.
Oh. Oh, shit.
All right. Hi, everybody. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. I have no heat. I want to be a true Vermonter, so I'm trying to rough it. So I'm in lots of clothes and yeah, I'm frozen. So just know this. That's what's happening here. We thought the children had brought. Someone's swearing. That's not me, or is that my alter? I'm not sure.
Have a flood happening at my house. This is why Zoom shouldn't happen. I was trying to like can hear water running from upstairs and people are running.
Right.
I have if you want to give me your heat, I'll give you my pipes. Do a
We
swap.
have the wood stove going. I was
Good.
hoping that with my, anyway,
It's all right.
that's all right.
So sorry, guys. That's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know
sucks.
what's happening. There's water that shouldn't be running somewhere. So, but anyway, how's it going? It did.
Hi.
suck.
All right, so I think we have enough people to get started here. We've got Larry. Where's Larry? Hi, Larry. We've got Mika hiding in there. And John's here. Tesha, we got
Yeah,
Tesha, Ruth.
I'm
Hi,
here.
Ruth.
Sorry. I got to
right.
make dinner for a gaggle of kids, so
Good.
I'm
Yeah.
off video.
I'm coming over. We got Lauren, Marlena. Yeah, we got everybody. Look at all this. It's a good one. Hi, Laura, Logan. We have Thor, Logan / Thor here. All right, so let's call the meeting to order. 8:03 Childcare Working Group, November 21st, 2022. Want to welcome everybody. This should be an exciting, informative meeting. We have some proposals from the providers that we hope to be presented and reviewed and discussed with the public and amongst ourselves, a very open forum. I'd like to sort of just, have one person talk at a time and, go around in a circle sort of thing. So we can do hand raises or whatnot. But, we've been working at this for 6-7 months. And I think that this meeting brings it to a head where we've received what I think are some viable proposals on how to increase childcare capacity in Woodstock and also for our surrounding neighbors as a byproduct. The providers have really worked incredibly hard in their busy schedules to come together and give us the information we need. When we started, it was a big deal for us to say we don't know anything about childcare. Now I can say I know 1%, and that's all I want to know. I'm not interested in 2% or greater. You're all heroes, and please be my hero. I'm not doing that. Amazing work, and we appreciate everyone, humoring us while we ask repetitive, stupid questions over and over. But we all have the same goal. We want to get more kids into your facilities and increase quality of life and education for families and their youngsters so that the economy can grow and Woodstock can become, and the surrounding areas in the Upper Valley in Vermont and this nation, a happier and better place, because we know that parents that don't have childcare have a stressful home environment. They potentially are out of the workforce. They, have stresses that just don't help their everyday lives be productive and fruitful and fair and equitable. And in a place like Woodstock, where we have a lot of opportunity, I'm really proud of everyone's volunteer work, provider and my own group and the people in the EDC and just anyone who listen, Let's Grow Kids, all the people that have given advice. It just takes a lot to go through. You could talk about the fire marshal, Ruth, for 9 hours, right? I mean, it's just one little piece. So with that said, what I'd like to do is just ask the 4 providers we have, who might like to go first, introduce your facility, talk a little bit about it, and then go through the proposal, and then have an open forum where we can just discuss things and see how we feel. At the end of the meeting, my hope is that Larry, Mika, and myself would call to order and have a motion where we can proceed to put forth some or all of these to the EDC for review in the December meeting or perhaps a future meeting after that. So does anyone, Bridgewater, Rainbow, TCC, WCCC, who would like to go first and introduce yourselves to everyone and and get right to it. Anybody? All right, Michelle, your pipes. All right, Michelle, tell us, say hello and tell us all about yourself and what's going on, and I leave it to you.
All right, so my name is Michelle Huff, and I am the Vice President of the Bridgewater Area Community Foundation. I've been on the board for, it'll be 3 years in this January. I am the chair of our childcare committee, as well as temporarily the finance person on our board. If anyone has any board experience in finance, we would love to talk to you. But we opened up our first room for childcare in the old Bridgewater Village School, and we opened 14 spots this last June. We worked really hard during the pandemic to get that building. The back end of the building was built in the 90s. And so we were able to have occupancy with the fire marshal in that part of the building. And we are currently working on renovating the older part of the building and hope to expand the childcare to a second, much larger, beautiful room and increase our spots to 32. We have another board member here with us, Melina Agan. And I think there's also a mother here from our childcare center, one of our parents. So we have put together a proposal to your organization and inviting you to join our work and hoping to expand that into that second room and get those 32 spots open as soon as we can.
Are you able to share the proposal on your screen, or would you like me to do it? And could you walk us through it, Michelle?
I don't have the digital version. If you want to share it, I do have
Yeah,
a
sure.
paper copy.
Let me do
Sure.
that. One moment. Forgive me, I'm really bad at the
Not at all.
Zoom. I have to figure out what to click. All right, share this. Doing it. Did that work?
Yep, I can see it. Can other people? I
Can
think
you
so.
can you folks see that? Nod.
Yeah,
Kesha,
I
you
some
see it?
thumbs
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
Great.
yeah,
see
it's visible. Yep.
Okay.
All
Cool.
right. You're not,
So-
you're not wanting me to read this?
No, you can
Okay.
just, well, you can read it, or you can tell us the vibe for each page and tell me to go forward. We'd just like to take us through whatever way you want to present it, really. Sure, you can read it, or
Okay,
whatever way is best for you, and I'll hit the down page button whenever you like.
sure. Thank you, Todd. Okay, so Christiana Birmingham Ploss is the executive director of our childcare center. I know her through our relationship from Woodstock Elementary School. She had run a successful after-school program out of Woodstock Elementary School, and I approached her about a year ago now, asking if she wanted to know more about the community center and the childcare center. And she came on board as our director of the community center and then ended up becoming the director of our childcare center. And so she tonight was not able to be here. This is definitely her baby and her proposal. You can see her name at the bottom. And but I've been here for the last 3 years. I can probably answer most of these questions, but she does it much more eloquently because this is her wheelhouse. This is what she's been doing and breathing for the last 6 months now. 6 months to a year for childcare for her. Anyway, so the first page, she had been approached by your group. Again, the mother that is here today, I believe, made that initial connection. And there was some talk about how Woodstock residents might secure like designated spots within the center. And so that dialogue went back and forth between her and you and then our board. And we drafted this response letter talking about those spots and how we saw them, that I think this might be a secondary letter to that kind of folds that into it. Thank you for the nodding. I appreciate the cliff notes. And so this is the summary. This is the proposal for the grant proposal for the expansion into the second room. So some of that dialogue and conversation had been about how Woodstock residents could have like designated spots within our 32 spots. And that was a very difficult conversation for our board and the childcare committee to try to figure out logistically how we would do that. And so this proposal sort of summarizes our stance and our thought process, and going back to the Woodstock EDC to ask for you to still participate in our project, but leaving the autonomy of how that project is run within our board and our executive director's purview. So you can go to the second page there, Todd. So Christiana laid out a really wonderful proposal going over the expansion project timeline. And this lays out what we hope to achieve to open up that second room. The December 30th of 23 is a buy date. We really do hope to open sooner than this. But under this circumstances, construction being what it is, we want to make sure that we are laying out dates that are achievable. Okay. And because we've already opened one room, it's really easy to see what that timeline would be and what the expenses would be for the second room. The second being almost twice as large as the first. So our costs are, we've already incurred those for the first room. And so we feel very solid about the figures. Okay, expansion project budget. Again, this is outlining what those figures would look like based on what our costs have been thus far running our childcare center. And expansion project budget narrative. Okay, so this goes over basically how we run our childcare center. We have a partnership with Creative Lives Foundation, and that is talking about how we serve the whole child. What that means for, in layman's terms, is if the child needs something very tactile to fall asleep, we're paying attention to that. If the child communicates in a certain way, we are taking note of that and making sure we're communicating with the parents about what we notice and how that child is evolving as their own person. And this really kind of ties into some of the work that we're doing in the elementary schools around building empathy and just conscious engagement as a young person. And our program is taking that even back further to the infant and toddler level. Okay, equipment, that's pretty basic. Soft goods. Did she include a picture of the childcare center to you, Todd? Okay. It's a beautiful space. It's all light wood. Everything is very calming, and we would continue that into this other room. This other room has a whole wall of antique windows that are being preserved. We have a grant to preserve those windows, high ceilings, beautiful floors. It's a room a ballerina would be happy to be in. It was almost going to be a dance studio, but we decided to turn it into the second childcare room. So the equipment is pretty basic, and we'll continue with the theme of the first room. Construction and renovation for the room are pretty basic, adding cabinetry, storage, the kitchenette, and just some basic, wall upkeep. But the room itself is in great shape, and the windows, as I said, are covered under another grant. Okay, I'm on the current and projected revenue. So again, because we already have this room open, we know what our costs are and what our revenue will be when we add those additional spots. And we look forward to having this a little bit of surplus at the end once the second room opens. And we plan on using that surplus towards grants and helping any families that have financial issues, as well as, excuse me, I should have had a drink of water right next to me, as well as any enrichment activities for parents and families.
Okay, Michelle, can I ask a question on this
Of
page?
course, go ahead.
This says 36 spots. You had said 32.
Oh, I know she was remeasuring the room. It must have bumped up by 4.
Okay.
She had estimated, that's wonderful, actually. I know she was
Michelle?
working, oh, yep, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, so we currently have 14 spots
Yeah,
at the Child Care Center, and we plan on adding 22. So I think that's 36.
Got it.
okay,
Yeah.
thank
So
you.
just the previous number of 32 just gets bumped up to 36 then, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you, Melina.
And
Yeah.
just one other question. Have you given any thought to using some of the surplus to pay for the 195,000? I mean, it's $110,000 surplus per year. That would be a pretty quick, that's, almost $10,000 per month.
Where are you?
I'm looking at the 9,690. I assume that's per
Yeah.
month. Is that per
So-
month?
So this is a monthly revenue. So John, I think one of the things that was discussed is to reinvest, right, some of the surplus into the programming. So yes.
Right, I reinvested into the programming, but not into okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, down the line, right, this, if we look at our projected timeline, we're looking into December of next year. So then we would have to be open and fully operational, licensing, building codes, all of that. So then after that, reinvesting into the community center and childcare center. Does that answer?
Well,
question.
I just want to make sure. No, I understand why you would need money to get to January 2024. That part of it, but let's say this is what you would expect the financials to be once you've gotten to 36 people. I just want to understand where that money, that $10,000 ish a month would then go. And you're saying into the community center. What is that, childcare related? Are there some non-childcare related programs that money would go towards as well as childcare?
So Michelle, have you and the finance team talked about that?
Well, this is the
Moving
first I've
forward.
seen of such a large projection of a surplus. So, I mean, that's wonderful. I mean, and that's assuming that you are at 100% capacity, that there isn't some other, financial issue that has come up that has, drained a surplus. But yes, ideally, we have raised $1.4 million to get this building up and running for childcare and the community center. Once the childcare center is running and efficient, we would hope that it is helping to support the community center as well. Now, the community center also includes a senior room, and we're hoping for programming, intergenerational programming, the after-school program. I mean, all of these different programs are interrelated. So it's not that one is supporting the other. The childcare is the first to open, but having the community center and having the building there makes the childcare able to be there. So it's going to be a symbiotic relationship within the building. But yeah, this is the first time I have seen this large projected surplus from Christiana and our project manager, which is great that the numbers work out this way.
Yeah.
Melanie,
Michelle, let me just let you finish, because I just wanted, when we got to this page, I know you're almost done actually, but
Yeah.
let me let
Go
you
ahead.
finish, and then I've got a couple other questions, Todd, if that's all right. But go ahead, Michelle. Thank you for that. Sorry.
no, you're welcome. Oh, okay. And then
Can we
our,
please go back to the other page for 1 second?
who is that?
Thank you.
this one?
Yeah, that's great. Or no, yet. That's all good. Thank you.
Oh, you just wanted to look at some numbers. I see. Okay, and then the after-school program, I don't know if any of you are, I assume some of you, I know some of you are parents at West. Not having an after-school program at Woodstock Elementary School is pretty challenging right now. And I know that other programs are also tight, so we really want to get our after-school program up and running as soon as possible. Bridgewater Village School used to have a wonderful program that really served our community. It was, this was before I moved here, but this is what I hear from the community, that it was almost like a drop in and it was a really low rate. I'm not quite sure how we would get all of that to work, but the idea of having an after school program at the school is a huge need. It's been voiced by most families in Bridgewater, and now because Woodstock doesn't have theirs up and running, we're all kind of scrambling. A lot of us have, you know, teens watching our kids after school, young teens, and I'm really excited to get our after school program up and running. Our multi-purpose room is huge. It's one of the biggest spaces in our greater community. The climbing wall that's at the Prosper Valley School had come out of that space. We could, you know, absolutely have the ability to make that space really fun and very educational for an after-school program to thrive. So this is a need in our community that's been identified. It's lacking. So it was also in our executive director's wheelhouse because she's run an after-school program. And as the director of a childcare center, the after-school program can be under her purview. It can all be one program, and she can, you know, license-wise run both. So this is definitely one of our priorities right now, as well as that second room. It may be that the after-school program comes to fruition sooner than the room. We're not quite sure. This is part of the construction that we're going through to see what can get finished first. So I think that's it. And someone had, a couple people had some questions, John.
It's John Spector. I can absolutely understand why the board would struggle with the request to not to reserve slots for Woodstock. That wasn't our request. And again, this is a sort of a subtle, complicated issue. So we may not have communicated it or even have fully decided or thought through exactly what we were asking for. But I think what we're trying to avoid is something that I think we have to avoid, which is that a Woodstock taxpayer gets denied a place that was available, but was given to someone from another community, but was part of the expansion that was paid for by Woodstock tax dollars. And so we don't know what we would rationally say to someone who say, well, why did you pay money to give spaces to people from other communities? Why didn't the taxpayers from those communities pay for those additional spaces? We understand that the logistics, you know, that we understand that the message to someone from any other community would be a difficult message to give. And we're not suggesting, we'd be very happy if the demand in Woodstock were met and there were extra capacity. We don't mind paying for more capacity than Woodstock needs. And we'd be very happy to have Bridgewater or Hartford or, you know, whatever the towns are where the kids come from. We'd be very happy to see all of those places filled, as long as Woodstock's demand was met by the proportion of the increase that we paid for. We don't want to change any of the existing. You know, if you've got 12 kids there, we're not suggesting that any of them get kicked out, but if our money is paying for half of the 22 people increase, we just would like to have, well, not would like, I don't know what we would say to a Woodstock taxpayer if more than 11 people from Woodstock applied and some were turned down in deference to some people from other towns, we don't really, well, I shouldn't say we don't have an answer. There is no reasonable answer to those people for us to, and they would ask, why did we direct Woodstock?
Well, I have a reasonable answer.
Okay,
for
go
you.
ahead.
I don't know if Melina has anything that she'd want to add here as well. But I would say, John, my understanding is that the tax, this money that you have to grow our childcare spots in our area comes from a 1% tax for lodging, meals, and alcohol in Woodstock, correct?
Correct.
So it's coming from the businesses that provide those services to the greater community. It's not just locals, it's all of the people that visit us here and enjoy the greater community. And then the people that work in those businesses most likely don't live in Woodstock. Most likely the people that work in those businesses live in the greater community. And those people need childcare in order to get to work.
So
I'm giving you the reasonable.
no. I'm sorry. I misspoke because
Okay.
I think what we would be looking for would be to provide spaces for people.
Sorry,
who live in
Jose,
Woodstock
everyone
or
will
people who
get
work in-
Judge Laura, everyone, I see everyone's hand. Everyone will get a chance to talk. So you don't have to freak out if you think I don't see. I see you.
No, sorry, I should have added, it's shorthand, and that's where I think misunderstandings could occur. We would like to use these funds to give first crack to a portion of the spaces for people who live in Woodstock, people who live in Woodstock who have kids, or people who work in Woodstock who have kids. So that directly addresses the people who work in Woodstock and live elsewhere. That's part of the target that we're trying to support.
Thank you, John. Laura, now I give you the floor. Muted, Laura, which I do all the time.
Oh, I'm gonna mute me.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd. And I apologize if this has been asked and answered, but I understand John's point. I think there's like a lot of context here, which is that all of the families, and I'm one of them, that are currently at Bridgewater Community Childcare have ties to Woodstock, whether they live here or work here. We have a family from Brownsville who works at the National Park Service here. We have families who are currently in Pittsfield because they are renovating homes in Woodstock. And I think that it's just like a little ironic to me because the Bridgewater community itself has gone above and beyond to raise the funds for this childcare center with no promise or quotas for their own students and children and families to be here. And I mean, again, I think, and Michelle could probably speak to better numbers, but the majority of families currently enrolled are Woodstock families. 85% or more of the wait list is Woodstock families. And, it's not as though we live in a community that has separate school districts. These are kids that will stay with each other as they go through WES. So while I understand the concern, I also think the people of the Bridgewater community did a lot of work to get this up and running. And as a community and as an area, and I think that should be considered when looking at this application. It's been a wonderful place, and I think a lot of families would be lucky to send their kids there. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Is it Jack? Is that up there? Sorry, I don't.
Oops.
Go
I
ahead.
think it's me. It's Melina Egan.
Oh,
Sorry.
Melina, hi.
The Zoom is
It says
under
Jack there, yeah.
my son when they were doing distance learning. I apologize.
I mean, it's all good with me. You have the floor.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, it's Laura, right? Thank you, Laura. She actually said a lot of what I was going to say, but and Christiana has the numbers, but yeah, I mean, since we've opened, our enrollment has been majority Woodstock residents. As of last month, 70% was Woodstock residents, and then a few aged out because they turned 3. So now we're at, I think, 58% Woodstock residents. And then we have a waiting list that includes, I can't remember off the top of my head, so I won't say numbers, but a lot of Woodstock families. And so I think I mentioned this in our letter, I don't see those numbers changing. So I think we're already doing a great service to Woodstock and all through the greater area, all the way to Heartland. And then, as Laura mentioned, we're all funneling to the same school district. And I think that that's the goal, right, is to get everybody ready and prepared, excuse me, for school. And we can do that together, I think, if we work together. So I think there's still room for us, to have this relationship. And the funds will help us get there. And then, the hope is that the center will be sustainable and continue for years to come, even after these funds have expired. And so then we will still be servicing Woodstock, Bridgewater, Barnard, Pomfret. I don't even know who else. And so I'd like us to think a little bit further down the line, I guess, is where I'm going with that. But yeah, I see us already servicing the need of the community. I'm a business owner in Woodstock. I know a lot of businesses have lost employees because of daycare. I have kids in the school system. I know the need is there, and we have the space and a director willing, to get us there. So I would just like the consideration, and I really appreciate that you guys are considering us for this because we are outside of Woodstock. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks, Melania.
Yep.
Would anyone else, I have a few thoughts. Would anyone else like to speak on the topic of Bridgewater community childcare before I get into it? Anyone else have any
Todd,
opinions? or
can I
thoughts?
just ask Melania just a quick follow-up question, because something that she meant?
Yes,
mentioned?
please do.
Melania, could you, if half of the waiting list were Woodstock residents, could you give us a breakdown of who's on the waiting list? And
I
not the names, but
Yeah.
whether
Thank you, John. Yeah, I can't do that because I physically don't have the waiting
Okay.
list in front of me.
That's fine, but if, I guess what I'm trying to do here is to find a solution. There are certainly taxpayers in Woodstock
Mhm.
who would agree with taxpayers or business owners with employees, who would agree with what you and Laura Powell would say. There are certainly taxpayers who would not find these arguments at all convincing.
Sure, I agree.
And they would ask, has Barnard and Pomfret established a 1% options tax
Mhm.
or Bridgewater? And the answer is no, they haven't.
Yeah.
Why not? We have no answers to those questions, but another way to skin this cat, because we all want to provide childcare to kids, frankly, wherever they come from. We've taken an oath, a legal oath, to use these funds for a certain purpose. We can't really violate that. But if you were to say, and you don't have to say tonight, but if you could follow up with us and say, well, currently 55 to 60% of the people we're serving are Woodstock or children of employees of Woodstock, wherever they live, because both of those count from our perspective. As we've looked at our waiting list as it sits today, the makeup of the waiting list is about the same. And therefore, we expect, while we can't precisely say who's going to participate, we expect it to stay the same. And it has always been that way. In other words, it's been, if you said that, well, sorry, if you would it would need to be true. If that were the case, then it seems to me, then there's a reasonable argument to say these funds would likely be used for exactly the purpose for which the EDC is required to pursue. And that, I think we could get much more comfortable. We're not like saying, well, is it 0.7 of a child went over the limit to take half the child and take them out of childcare? We're not trying to split hairs, but we do have an obligation. So if you could get us that information as soon as, in the next couple of days before we consider this at the EDC, I think that could be a reasonable argument to make. I don't think we have to account for every precise child with certainty.
I think I agree with what John's saying, but I think everyone in this meeting, right, we're all taking Laura's position. I think it's pretty safe to say we all could feel that way and understand that. I think when we bring this in front of the EDC, if it goes in front of the EDC, our obligations are going to be full force in front of us, where other members will ask these questions and need answers, or they won't vote in the affirmative. So I think that, just to put a cherry on top of what John's saying, and I firmly agree, I think the goal is to anything to be recommended from this committee to be brought to the EDC. The goal is to hope for success in that vote. And I think that anything we can do to try to really dig into the data and be honest and truthful. I mean, look, your honest and truthful position now is that 90% of the people are from Woodstock, right? I mean, so it just has to come from you run your business, you know the makeup, you know the waiting list. Anything you can do, again, to reiterate what John was saying and present to us, that helps us let people understand that this is it doesn't matter if 2 kids are from somewhere. This is a win for Woodstock workers and families, because some people on the commission may hate children. I don't think that's the case, but we have to make sure that everyone understands why we want to send these funds to this place, even if we all understand it perfectly clear. So that would be great. Is that something you think you can come up with in a short order, just some data points like that?
We have that.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have the data. I just don't have it in front of me. I just
Yeah, no
tried
problem.
texting
It's better to
Christiana.
just, digest,
Yep.
think about it. And, like John said, doesn't have to be, just give us the vibe of what's going on here. And I think that'll be really helpful for us to bring up for debates.
Sure.
Anyone else have, Larry, any points? There you go. Larry Niles
Yes.
has the floor.
Okay, I just wanted some clarity for the 22 new infant and toddler spots. The ask to the EDC is about 70,000. Is that correct?
Our ask was 100,000.
But I saw somewhere that you wanted 69% of that from us. Correct?
Where?
Yes. So the funds requested, but the projected total cost of the expansion project exceeds the 100,000. So we're saying we're coming up with
95 something.
Yeah.
No, you're asking for about 48%-ish. 48% of the total, Larry, is what they're asking for. It's 100 of 195.
And
That's
to be
on
clear, that's to finish the inside
69%.
of the room. Like we've done the building, we've done a lot of infrastructure or are working on that. There's a new elevator, the roof. I mean, the $1.4 million have been raised prior to this expansion into the second classroom. So the building itself has had an immense amount of work, or is about to have that, in order to house this space.
Michelle, just sorry, it's two different asks in one document. It's the after school is a separate thing, correct?
Right.
To present to us. So we have up in front here, we have the first ask is the 100,000 to cover the expansion project budget.
Yeah.
And then as we get through that, that's broken down here.
Yeah.
On this page. And then you have the data behind that, the financials. And then after that, you have the after school program. This is a separate issue you brought before the commission to discuss and debate.
So it's not an ask, but it's outlining what that program looks like to start up. The 100,000 was an ask towards the whole community childcare program. And obviously the after school program, like I said, we're not sure which one might open first because of the construction. So, but the 100,000 for the room was where we started, and we wanted to let you know about the after school program as well. That I understood was something you were very interested in supporting as well. And so that's what this page is. We have a lot more work done for the second expansion room than for the after school program. This is Christiana's first sort of outline of getting that program up and running.
Just because it would be $186,000, or of the 100, some might go to this after school. lot. Depending on how it all shakes down. Is that?
That's my understanding. Melina, you spoke to her last, you were working on this
Yeah,
yesterday.
so my understanding is the 100,000 is towards the expansion for the second daycare room. The 86,480 is the projected budget for the after-school program,
Okay.
which she mentioned the EDC was interested in looking at, and that's why this is more truncated. There's no numbers behind it. If you guys were interested in that, then we can come up with it. There's no timeline, but it's just there to see what a basic number could look at on what we're, but that it's doable, that we have the space, we have the director. We know how much it's going to cost in terms of staffing, but we haven't done all the
Understood.
projected numbers and revenue behind it.
Okay.
Because we
Awesome.
had
Very
that
good.
first room
Todd-
done, that gave us a
Yep.
lot of details for the second room layout.
Yeah,
So
very
Todd, can
good.
you go back two pages, I think it is, or it says expansion project budget narrative?
Yes, sir. We've got the timeline, the budget, the narrative.
Hold
There
it,
you go.
stop right there. Look at the bottom line. That's the one that I was,
Yes, I think that 97,000, yes, this 69%,
$70,000.
you know, I think that's
That's
just.
where I came up with that.
Mhm.
Right.
Is that just bad math?
Let's go
It-
back up.
it may be, it's just
How many
showing where
times?
your 100,000 would break into for the close to $200,000 project.
So I
That you
think
would,
it-
that 67 of would go towards construction and 30 towards equipment. And that the other money to make this project come to fruition will be from
Ye-
other sources.
Yeah, I think that maybe it's a mathematical error, Larry, because obviously this doesn't equate to the delta of
The-
69 to 100. Yeah.
Well,
The two pages are inconsistent. That's okay.
That's-
my
that's- that's okay,
understanding,
though.
so if I can give
Yeah.
some clarity there, and this is, so Christiana, this is her first time doing a budget narrative, and I think she'd be okay with me telling you that, writing
She did a
down
great
the
job.
narrative.
Great.
And so the narrative, can you go back to that page, Todd, please? So the narrative shows the monies that we are asking for in this grant. So the money going towards the training, the equipment, and the constructions and the renovations. So those three numbers add up to 90, no, they don't. They still don't, do they? Do they
No.
add up to 97,309?
No.
No. So those three numbers, those are the numbers that are supposed to add up to the ask.
It's
Um,
close.
Actually, no, I think, I see what the problem is. The last sentence on the page that's on the screen, the 97,309 is the construction / renovation line. If you go back to that page, the last row, construction renovation is the
That's right.
97,309, of which they're asking 69% from us. It's an
Okay.
irrelevant comment, but it's true.
Right.
Got
It's-
it.
It's
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Very good. Larry, please
Somebody's on it.
continue. No, please continue. Then when you're set, we'll give Mika the floor. Go ahead, Larry.
No, that satisfied me.
All right, fantastic. Larry is satisfied. Mika, your floor.
Thank you. Yeah, I just was asking, or I'm just wondering pragmatically, given the nature of the building industry right now, and just wanting obviously to see a project through to completion, do you have builders on deck? Do are you thinking about supply chain issues and having the equipment that you need and the supplies that you need in order to make this project happen in the timeline that you're thinking?
We definitely were thinking about that for the last few years. We're currently at a place where we feel like we've got a green light. We've purchased the elevator, it's in storage. We have the contractors lined up. They're starting, God, they might have already gone in. They should be starting any day now, starting on that second room, as well as the elevator shaft. We're putting in a new elevator so that the building's fully accessible. There's already an elevator, but the way that the building is set up, there's like tiers, and having the second one will make the building truly accessible to all. But we're really close to done. There's some electrical work in the finishing work inside, but the electrical, finishing the sprinklers and the elevator are the big ticket items. And we do have contractors all lined up for those. We're pretty excited.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, you're ahead of the game there. Great. Thank
Very
you.
good. Very good. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Melania?
I got an update on the waiting list. If you want me to give that to you now, or if you want to wait, I can.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so these are today's numbers. Right now, 58% of the waiting list is Woodstock families. With just today, 2 spots were offered to Woodstock families, and they will be starting on December 1st. So that is today's. I can ask her to give more exact, so how that compares to since the start of when we opened the doors, which was June. But as of last month, it was 70%. No, but that was in-house. So what we had, and so if we're just talking waiting list, I can ask her to give us a comparison. But that's today's
Great.
numbers.
Great.
Yeah.
That 58% is exactly the same as the in-house numbers. So maybe just make sure that that's the waiting.
Yep. She said that is the waiting list as of right now. But yes, I think that's what we had put on the letter. Is that what you're referring to?
No. Just your comment earlier. You said 58% was currently Woodstock.
Okay.
So it's the same percentage on the waiting list as it is in the current in-house.
I will confirm that with
Yeah,
her.
just to make sure. And can you
Yeah.
just also tell us how many people are on the waiting list?
Yep.
If you can ask her that too. Thank you.
Just under 60, I believe.
Mika, did you have
This-
anything further to add, or you're just
Oh,
keeping that
sorry,
hand
no.
up for happiness?
I forgot to take my hand down, but I do have a quick question. When you say Woodstock families, is that residents of Woodstock, or does that also include people who work in town?
I believe they are residents of Woodstock.
So not even including people who work. Okay,
Correct.
great.
Yeah.
I think we'd love to know the people who also work in town. I think.
Yeah.
That would be
That could
Great.
increase the percentage pretty.
Yeah.
In
Okay,
a
great.
size.
Well,
Thank you.
if there aren't any other questions, I feel like this was a really thorough presentation. I have my questions answered. Does anyone else have anything to add before we move on? Okay, hearing nothing, then thank you, Bridgewater Community Childcare. That was really well done, taking the plunge first. Now
Thank you
I'll
for
ask-
having us.
Yeah, of course,
Thank
of
you.
course. We really, you're all heroes. Who would like to go second? Logan, I know you're excited. Where are you? Ruth, you want to go? You want to go, Ruth?
Hi Todd, this is Elizabeth.
Hey, Elizabeth. Yeah.
Hi.
Would you like to go?
Yeah, the community campus would love to go next.
All right, you got it. You unmuted first. So although
know,
Ruth
I know.
might have been a close tie, but
I don't know.
we'll get you next, Ruth. All right.
Like,
Well, Elizabeth, we'll let you take the lead. Let me, do you have your documents to pull up? Or would you like me to pull them up for you?
if you already have it up,
Yeah.
it would be great.
I can pull it up. One moment, please.
Great. And Tisha's gonna kick us off today.
So, hi, everyone. I'm Tesha Buss. I first came to the EDC to get the Rainbow Relocation Grant. Thank you very much for your interest overall in childcare. Then I came back to you when we created the community campus, and we did that as a response to COVID. We guided kids through online learning and then provided after school care for the 2021 school year. And then when kids went back to school when they went back to school, we thought we really have to reinvent ourselves and make sure that we're relevant. And our main focus is to support working families. So we continued our after school care program. We focus on gap days of instruction. So if there is a town meeting day, you can bring your kids to TCC. We provide early care as well. So once a month, the school doesn't start until 10 a.m. So parents bring their kids and then they're bused over to West from there. We also do break weeks, February break weeks, April break weeks, so that parents can continue their work during those times. And then our summer camp programming also focuses on working families. So we take the weeks closest to school in either direction, because a lot of summer camps focus on the middle of summer, We also offer our summer camp from 8 to 5 when most summer camps are 9 to 3. And then also we are in collaboration with other summer camp programs. So Summer Soap runs for 4 weeks, but many kids get bussed over to TCC for aftercare so that their parents can stay at work because it's only 9 to 3. So that is the basic philosophy of what TCC does. Oh, I forgot one, date night. So once a month, we do a date night from 5 to 9 p.m. You drop your kid off, they get fed, and then that month's programming is, surrounded by whatever time of year that we're in at that time. So when we started after school in the COVID year, we had around 6 to 8 kids in the aftercare. The last school year, it was around 11. And this school year, we are averaging 18. So those are our numbers. And so I'd like to just have Logan Roddy talk just a little bit about what after-school programming is, since we want to make sure everyone knows what our focus and philosophy is.
Of course, thank you, Tisha, for doing that. And so for those that don't know me, I came into the community campus at the start of last school year in August of 2021 as the program administrator. And we really have done a fantastic job with the support of the community, but also the support of our parents that have come into the picture. And so what we've really tried to do is really focus on the fact that we are focused on grounded in movement and outside play and emotional learning. So when kids come over, they get bussed over from Wes. I'm there to meet them and greet them. The first things that we do is get a nice healthy snack in them, which we provide. I always encourage parents to, bring some extra snacks in case their kids are going through a growth period. But then the next goal is to get them outside and moving. And if the weather, we always ask for the weather to be permitting for us to do that. And so we have the age range of K through 12. And a lot of people ask us if we separate our groups based on ages. And I honestly don't. And the reason why I don't do that is because I think they have such a great learning opportunity from the older kids to the younger, but also the younger to the older, because the older kids can set examples for them, and they can kind of observe and mimic their behaviors in games. So what we do is we have group related games and constructive play. So the biggest portion of that is that when they're playing, we are focused on, okay, when are disagreements going to happen? How do we handle those disagreements? And where's that going to put that emotion in the next stage of that game? And so all these kids are engaged actively at all points. And then the best part about it is that I'm also engaged. I'm not sitting on the sidelines. I'm not just guiding them and telling them what to do. I'm engaged with them to show them adults are part of this. We are creating this bond together to have a healthier and stronger relationship in your learning and your experience here at TCC. And I know that I have a couple of families that are here currently sitting on this, so I thank you for joining here, but they are advocates for us in the terms of how we run our programming. The benefits of their growth and their development in just from the small age to the older age is phenomenal. And so as we continue to build this, this is not just an after school thing. So we have this structure in place, but it affects all of our programming. It affects our summer. It affects our early care. It affects our events. It affects the parents' night out. And no matter what, you can always trust that the kids are going to have a phenomenal day at TCC, whichever program they take, and the parents have an open door to communicate with me so I can help them in their learning progress at TCC. And so now I'd just like to pass it over to Elizabeth Reeves, who is our board president, who is going to discuss a little bit further on our proposal.
Thank you, Logan.
Yeah, thanks so much, Logan. And the TCC is successful because of our staff, and our ability to grow is predicated on our ability to retain and attract staff. So this proposal that we put in front of the EDC is really built on covering some of our risks so that we can expand. Our challenge is that we cannot meet an increase in demand without staffing up. And as a small organization, we want to we want to be able to have a sort of a sustainable growth model. So we want to be able to retain our current employees, and we also prevent burnout, because we're, as you can tell, we're very dependent on the dedication of our program administrator and the good staff that we have today. And we want to be able to attract and retain new employees. This comes with risks. A grant from the EDC would provide seed funding to support a sustainable growth model. And I think you can see from our budget projections that based on our historical data, we've consistently demonstrated our ability to grow, to generate a small revenue over time. And really what we're asking for from the EDC tonight is a chance to continue to grow, and with some risk mitigation provided by your grant funding. So we're happy to take any questions on the spreadsheet that you have up on the screen, Todd.
Great. Yeah, I actually, I could go first. So talk to us about within the $35,000. It's my understanding from our conversations that not only will it provide the growth you need, but can you tell us about the redundancy you might get with additional staff and versus what might happen now with less staff when someone's sick, for example, or whatnot?
Yeah, so Logan, please feel free to kind of fill in with the context of daily life at the TCC. But right now, when we have staff that are sick and we cannot make ratio, then we have to shut down our after-school program. And that's a regulatory, a licensing restriction that we face. So we don't have resiliency and sustainability built into our existing staffing model. And we're dependent on our program administrator, not just administrating the program, but also serving in ratio on a daily basis with students. So being able to grow our staff will enable us to have more resiliency if someone's out sick, someone needs to take a family day, whatever the reason might be. What we're asking for in this budget is for us to get to have, in addition to Logan, to have at least 2 or 3 additional staff so that we can be able to maintain those services.
So
And-
just to follow up on, so as you go and expand and contract on the additional enrolled children, it really, the chart doesn't show, but it is in there that you're keeping the currently enrolled children in classes longer by having this staff overlap for when things come up. So it's really, my point is there's more impact for the ask than you actually see in just additionally enrolled children. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Larry?
I would just, need to be reminded, what do you estimate would be the number of pre-K kids that you're adding? You're adding pre-K through age 12, but how many do you think would be pre-K?
So in the community campus, we don't do anything with pre-K. We are only a K through 12 age range. So actually one of our wonderful neighbors who we rent from, our landlords, is Rainbow Play School, and they run the infancy to pre-K option that is in-house. So we run that 5 to 12, and that's our age range.
My error,
Yep.
my error.
No.
Thank you.
Larry, I just want to make sure that everyone knows for one of the issues too with pre-K is not only our licenses for school age children. So that's the reason why we can't take pre-K, but also there is a transportation issue. So even if we did have a licensing for it, you can't put them on a school bus.
My error, sorry.
Very good. Any other questions, Larry? Would you like to give the floor
I'm all
to
set.
John?
Thank
Okay,
you.
John, you have the floor.
Yeah, Elizabeth, I don't know, Tesha or Logan, but Elizabeth said she had to go get a power cord. So I think my question is about the spreadsheet.
Yes.
So it doesn't really, so just to confirm, the addition of 3 additional faculty, that exceeds your ratio, but provides you with redundancy. Is that correct?
So just to kind of clarify a little bit, the goal for hiring on more staff is to help take me out of the ratio, but to stay in space to be as a float. The proper safety ratio that I would like to have in place is, since we operate with a 1:13 ratio, so one staff member, 13 kids, is that we want to get above that 26 kid range to have that availability to reach our full maximum or our full potential, I would say, and then to have 3 staff members with myself as the float. So if there's a greater need for individual focus or emotional development, I'm capable of doing that without taking away that the observational, that safety net.
So maybe, I think maybe there may be maybe I'm misunderstanding the spreadsheet. The row additional staff hired, 3 would leave you with 5 staff. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, right. So got it. All right. So I understand, Todd, the point that you were emphasizing, and Logan, the point you're making. It makes it a more sustainable staffing model. The prices that you're planning to charge, staying the same. And given that we think that there's significant demand, we all think that there's significant demand for after school programs. So you're likely to still have a waiting list, even if you take an additional 15 kids. And I presume, by the way, if this were to continue for another 12 months, we would be seeing 15 every month, except for July, and we'd be seeing 15 in 10 months, and then 6 extra in July and August. Is that roughly right?
Correct. July and August references our summer programming.
Right.
And so
Right.
our summer programming is obviously just a little bit lower with everything that's going on. But yes, you are correct.
So, right. So basically what we'd be doing is the way to think about this effectively is that we're adding 15 spaces for after school program.
Correct. Yes.
When you add those 15 spaces, the net financial impact to you is actually positive.
Mm-hmm.
So if we didn't give you this money, and again, we want to expand the spaces, we want you to be in a financially sustainable position. But if we didn't give you this money and you went ahead and did this plan, and it came out the way you are thinking it will, you wouldn't need the money.
I think and I think Elizabeth can speak on this too a little bit more, but it's more about the risk mitigation of when we proceed forward with this. We don't know what's in store for us down that road. This is by all means, yes, this is our plan forward, and this is what we want to do, and we are going to do this. But it's more of, we want to make sure that we can provide health benefits to new employees that come on board, because we don't currently have any health benefits for any employees. We want to be able to pay them in case there is something that happens. Oh, I don't know, maybe a pandemic that might happen again. I'm not saying it will, but just in case, you never know. And we want to make sure that we have at least a buffer to make sure that we have them protected for a few months before we have to make any, unnecessary issues of cutting them for employees' sake or whatnot. But it's really about making sure that we can support our staff, support our current staff, and make sure that they're protected in all ways, and provide them those benefits that they need.
Well, you're not showing any costs of healthcare.
No, we are not showing any costs of healthcare, because because at first we need to grow before we can get to that point. So that's the reason why we are coming to the EDC with the payroll costs that it will take us to expand. In a perfect world, we'd hire someone and the new kids would instantly show up. We are concerned about that. So that's the reason why we wanted to have this fund, so that we can make sure that we can sustain the transition. We feel great about arriving at the place, but if we don't have it in the transition, that is going to be rough. But until we can get there and experience cash positivity, there's no way we consider right now in our current financial state doing healthcare contributions.
Yeah, and I think you can appreciate, John, the responsibility of a small organization in what that means to hire staff and guarantee them employment. And while we're showing a positive cash flow, we're not able to put money aside into a reserve to be able to be prepared for any sorts of uncertainties that might come our way. So we want to be able to we want, in order for us to take the step to hire more staff, we want to have the confidence that we can cover staff in the case that suddenly, there's COVID, or suddenly there is for some reason we see a dip in enrollment. So we really want to be able to be prepared for those situations.
What do you think? I'm very sympathetic to that. My questions, just to be clear, the questions that I'm asking are going to be directed to helping you to strengthen your proposal, not criticizing the proposal you've put forward. So take them in that context. I think what you're saying in words is that you want to create a sustainable platform that doesn't have to that can provide greater capacity, grow into a platform that is financially sustainable. Sustainability means not having Logan be the one who has to step in every time. And it means offering healthcare or some form of healthcare to some people so you don't lose people all the time, all of that.
The words she used, which are very interesting, I wrote down sustainable growth model. I think that's
right.
Right.
I think that's exactly what we want to support. The
Mhm.
spreadsheet isn't the spreadsheet for that. And you need to give us the confidence to give you the money to become sustainable. You need to have a credible spreadsheet that shows just what you want to do. And if that means that it needs to be 24 months, because that's how long it's going to take you to get there, or if you need to show certain cushions because of volatility or whatever, then show that, put that in. We want to fund that, but yeah, we want to fund that. So I think this needs a little bit more. The words you're using is exactly what we want to fund, but I think you need to show us some rough financial estimates, because the fear on my part would be that what we're funding isn't sustainable, because we don't know. This doesn't show you the costs this doesn't show a reserve. How big of a reserve do you need? It doesn't show healthcare costs. We don't want you to have to come back and say, now we figured it out and we're not, even with what you gave us, we're not sustainable. So I'd rather you ask for more. I mean, I'm not encouraging that because we've got $400,000 worth of requests. But can you work on that to kind of give us a rough estimate? I don't mean right during this call, but in the next couple of days to revise it in some way. I'm happy to work with you on that if you'd like. So
yeah, that would be great. I think this was the guidance we were given, so we projected to that guidance. So if there's additional guidance that's available, we should discuss that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good. Melania? Muted.
Sorry. I was just going to speak to the value of this program. My son, Jack, attends TCC and loves Logan and everything that has to do with this program. So I just wanted to echo everything that Logan and Tisha and Elizabeth have said. And yeah, speaking to cost of healthcare and staff retention, I think is huge, because we don't want to lose Logan or anybody else in that program. So that's it.
Very
That's my
good.
2 cents.
Thank you. Mika?
Yeah, so along those lines, it's more than not losing people, right? It's hiring new staff. And so just with the understanding that is, or if I understand correctly, that's not a simple task. So I'm just wondering, in an effort to try and, again, bring your project to completion, do you have a pipeline? Do you have any thoughts about how you could accomplish that goal? Or are you concerned that maybe you won't be able to accomplish that goal?
No, I believe that we will accomplish that goal. And actually, the great news is last week we had an initial interview with another candidate that is very promising, and they have a second interview with me coming up tomorrow, actually. And then we have another candidate that is looking to have a discussion with me later on in December for the start of the 2023 year. So yes, we have been working very hard and promoting our job need for people to come in, and it's been going well, and we have been getting small interests from local areas.
Hey, that's awesome. Congrats. That's no small thing. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
When we did our annual budgeting this year, we reached out to Let's Grow Kids and a number of other after-school programs across the state just to do some salary benchmarking so that we knew where we stood relative to other parts of the state. And we're definitely on par, if not paying a little bit better, believe it or not, than a lot of other after-school programs. So we also feel like we are consistent with what else is being offered there, and when it comes to sort of the workplace market for after school care.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any other questions for the folks from TCC from anybody? No, hearing none, then we will move on to WCCC with Ruth and Carrie. If you all would like, I can pull up your documents and you can take us through it. And we're excited to hear from you next. Let me pull that up. Still learning how to, I mean, it's pretty easy, but you don't want to click the wrong thing, you know?
All right, I'll get started. I'm Carrie Bristow, one of the founders of and currently the board chair of CCC. And WCCC started as a very small daycare at first and has expanded over time to the point where pretty much all slots currently are filled and with waiting lists for particularly infants to enter the program. And when we began to look at the need for after-school care and hearing about it through the community, Ruth set about looking at what that would take. And the unique thing for WCCC is that we are targeting pre-K students because we are already licensed for them. And we have capacity in the building to add a classroom that would start with one group and then potentially add another group so that as many as 20 slots could open up primarily for pre-K as well as siblings of current children in childcare. Ruth currently has staffing that will be starting very soon. Thankfully, today, the fire marshal released his final report and said that we're ready to call the licensor, and Ruth has contacted licensing, hoping that they'll be there next week with the probability of being able to open really quite soon. So from that perspective, the initial plan is to open up 9 spots almost immediately as soon as the license approved. 9 slots will open for pre-K students, siblings, and then down the road another could be open. And Ruth will correct me if I'm wrong on any of these things. She's got the details down, but we're excited for the opportunity to meet the needs for particularly that age group, which is currently unmet by the other 2 programs that have spoken. And it is primarily a licensing issue. The licensing for pre-K is scrutinized at a much higher level than it is for after-school care. And so that is why it is much more difficult to open up pre-K after-school care. So Ruth, why don't you go ahead and continue?
Thank you, Carrie. Hi, Ruth.
Hi, Todd. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to talk to you a bit about the programming that we have in mind. Carrie's mentioned the space that we heard about this through parents in our full day program whose children were transitioning either to public pre-K or to kindergarten, and thought that we might be able to come up with a creative solution to help. In particular, I've been working with the staff, the principal, and the extended learning coordinator at WES to work on how we might make this happen. And as someone else mentioned, busing is a huge issue when it comes to pre-K after school care. So we were able to work out a plan that will allow us to have the children walked over from WES to our location. being so close to them is what makes that a viable option. Currently, I expect, as Carrie said, I've already contacted licensing with the documentation they need for us to get started. Our primary needs are not related to staffing or anything of that nature. It's mostly creating this new classroom. It's desks and tables and shelving and all of the furniture and also the manipulatives and other types of learning materials that we need in that classroom. The idea for this is for this to not only be for after school, but to be able to make sure we can add an additional group for summer for pre-K, which I always have a waiting list for every summer. So I'm hoping to be able to meet those needs as well. Part of the project that we're asking funds for is indoor items and also outdoor items. We're in the midst of a renovation of our outdoor space. And as we all know, getting kids outside and having them be able to do some really good quality outside learning as well as play is very important. And so we're trying to support both ends of that with this project and this request. Currently, I know there was a lot of discussion about the percentages of things, and I just want to give you some ideas. Right now, we have 26 children on our list that are waiting, and we'll be able to hopefully take, I'm hoping if the licensing visit goes well, we might be able to start right away with both groups. And that is our proposal to them. So at that point, we would have 20 of those 26 filled. And we would be looking at, of the 20, 12 are in pre-K, 8 are in K through first to second grade potentially. And those that are in the older grades are primarily siblings of children who are either in our full day program or who will also be in the after school program. If you look at the total wait list, we're at 17 pre-K and 9 in the older age group. So basically what we did with this is I did a grant for EDC with the $60,000. I've also put in a grant for Make Way for Kids through Let's Grow Kids. And that ask is well over what their typical maximum is 50,000. My ask to them was a little over 73,000. So that's the basics of this. We're really close to getting started and looking forward to doing that. A key piece of that is for everyone is staffing. And I've been able over the past year to increase our staffing so that we have a more overlap, to have that built-in redundancy, and then me as a backup. And so I try to keep myself out of that count. And for this particular start for after school, we actually are shifting one of our pre-K teachers over to handle that. And the second group, we've been able to hire someone. And because our program focuses on specialized early care and education, we have one of our after-school teachers has a degree, a master's degree in special ed. And we also have a specialized early care and education coordinator who's helping all the kids in both full day and after school. And his position is outside of ratio most of the time. And so therefore, I have a lot of float and coverage. And that's what makes it a possible solution for the community and for us to be able to meet that need.
Very good, Ruth. One thing I know we've talked about in our many meetings, we've spoke a lot. Thank you for educating me on all this stuff. I think you've definitely educated me the most. What about you had a plan to help out the youngest of our affected children, the birth to 3. You had mentioned something about potentially. Can you talk to us about what something like that might look like, and if this helps that or not, or if that's just give us some flavor on how you can help out the youngest of the children.
So we're working currently under the expedited variants, which changes the age ranges for groups. for children. And it's based on the fact that it's the projected changes that will become permanent for those group ratios for teacher to child. So now we're able to move children who are 18 months old out of infant care and into a toddler room or a toddler 2 room. So basically that age range goes from 6 weeks to 18 months, and then 18 months to 32 months, 32 months and up is pre-K. And so for us, we currently have 7 infants and we have 10 children who are currently 18 months to 3. And our proposal includes my recommendations to licensing is that because our currently licensed space, not the new classroom, but the currently licensed space is large enough to accommodate up to 39 children, and we are only licensed for 30, is that we would add an additional 5 spaces for toddlers, so that we would have a transitional toddler group, which would be like those younger toddlers who are 18 months to, depending on their developmental stage, 24 months and up. So in that group, we would then go from having 10 toddlers to 15. And so what that will allow us to do is transition children out of cribs onto mats and into that toddler group in a quicker fashion. Because right now our holdup for being able to get infants in, just like everywhere, we have a long infant wait list, is because most of the time children have to age out of that 24 months before I can put someone new in, because we only have 4 cribs. And so we're trying to just increase that process. And we also have a lot of kids who are in that toddler age range that are currently on our wait lists. So we're trying to meet that need as well. In the future, what could be helpful in that is, depending on how things go with usage of the current space that we're going to be converting for after school and summer, would be to think about how that can be used for either full day or part day for pre-K, and possibly open up space in one of our other classrooms to add some infant or toddler spaces.
Okay. Let me pull up your numbers for John here and everyone. Let me try to get this. Bear with me 1 second. And here's some financial sustainability for review. So when we look at this, you want to just take us through this, Ruth, a little bit, just sort of how many you're adding, where this, I know a lot of the funds you're requesting are for the equipment nature and whatnot. So just give us the broad strokes of your expansion that includes the monies that the EDC may provide to open that second room.
Yeah, so initially, if you're looking at this, the number of children enrolled, this is based on where we are on a given basis with our 30 in place. And as you see, it'll increase over time. But I did this with the point of view of the additional children. So if you look at that line for additional children, that shows we anticipated starting in November, but it looks like we're going to hit December. And that's why, as you look at this, it says 20 slots. That's the 2 groups. So my goal would be that sometime within December, hopefully we would do both at the same time, but sometime within there, we would be at 2 groups because we have the staffing already in place. So this is basically just showing the increase. And then when you look to summer, you'll see the numbers drop to 9. And that's because when I budget based on what I actually think we're going to be able to accomplish. And so for me, if I can open one group with 9, that was based on our currently licensed base in case we couldn't use the extra room in the summer. So we would at least be able to have one group of 9 starting. And then if we're using that other room, which I believe I can make a strong case for us to be able to do, we would be able to just have 2 groups, and that would depend as well on staffing for summer, because instead of staffing to cover after school, which is a much shorter portion of the day, 2 full groups would require some additional summer staffing. And I already have started that process, and I have at least 1 person who will be working more hours in the summer to help towards that. So for me, I always budget, where do I think I really can make sure I'm going to hit that goal, and then work towards the rest. And so that's why you see 9 for the summer. But the ending numbers for income, that's mostly reinvested back into, since we're a nonprofit, we don't just take in funds, we use them. So we're increasing our minimum hiring rate for all of our staff and hoping to do that again sometime mid next year. And that is all based on the ability of being able to hit our numbers and have the staff that we need in place, which I think we're in pretty good shape for as we stand.
Very good. And when I've asked this of everyone individually, but just to get it on the call, to clarify, there's such a wait list in these areas. I don't think any of the providers here are concerned that that's going to suddenly disappear. Does that feel accurate for WCCC?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Yes. I have wait lists for every age group that I have.
I'm most interested in toddlers because they're Tods, you know.
Well, TCC did say, yeah, I agree with that. It sounds like that, but TCC, one of the risks that they're worried about is that not everyone will sign up. So maybe they shouldn't be worried about it, but
It's, you know, it's a risk aversion is very solid. Elizabeth made a very good point on it. I think it goes both ways.
Yeah.
But it is seeing high demand is why we're here, but also taking the other side and examining it is definitely worthwhile. So
I agree. And as she said, you know, small organizations don't have a lot of financial resiliency to draw on. So Ruth, can I just ask a couple of questions? I think there's a couple of errors in here. The most obvious one is that the expenses are negative, not positive, on the second to last row. So you're not making a profit of $78,000 a month. I hope. If you are, you're asking the wrong people.
That's not monthly. No, it's not monthly. So
No, I think
we don't have expenses that are over and above staffing, because we're not paying rent, and we don't pay utilities. So we have help from that as far as our building costs are concerned. So we do have that amount, but it would be over time. And that is if we were at 100%. So when I budget, typically my budget is at 85%. So this model, this spreadsheet is a little different than how I would normally present it. So I can tell you that if we were at 85% and we were running those targets, at the end of the year, this year, we would anticipate to have about $15,000.
I think John's saying that if you click on this cell here, it should be the subtracted, not the summation of 2 positive numbers.
Yes.
30 minus
Sorry about that.
30 plus, right? But the other question, just in June 2023, the revenue from new children, it doubles. It's something as, oh, I see. Sorry, your prices are increases. No, I see.
Right, because it goes from
I see.
after school to full day.
Got it. I understand. Okay. So this is, you know, very financial. So I guess my first question is, how many spots? It sounds like you are already planning, if I understood you correctly, you're already planning in the next few weeks to increase 20 spots without any money from the EDC. Is that?
So what I would say is what has to happen with licensing is, one, you get your agency approvals. Secondly, they have to come and do a technical site visit. So what I've proposed to our licensor is that we use other furniture and things that the church has and can lend to us to use as temporary placements to be able to get kids in the door until all of the things that we've ordered to set up that classroom as a fully functioning classroom arrive. Because everything you order now takes like 2 months to get here. And so we're going to be able to do it initially without a huge outlay of money, but we will have to be placing those orders.
Because the church can't continue to lend you, they can lend it to you for short periods of time, but not permanently.
Right, because we're going to be using materials that are part of the church's Sunday school.
Got it. Okay.
So we're
Understand.
taking tables and chairs, basically.
Okay. What about the oh, sorry, where did it and what about the use of the cumulative net financial impact is I mean, this will generate surplus additional capital for you. What have you considered using some of that for the expansion? Maybe not all of it, because you want to have a reserve or you want to have other enhancements to the program. But what about using some of that financial benefit to pay for some of the increase?
So some of that benefit will go back into paying for upgrades into our program. Like I said, we're working on our outdoor space is our biggest project right now. And although I didn't ask for a lot for that, I asked for part of this from this particular grant ask. That in itself is like $150,000 of renovation that we're doing outside that we're still trying to gather. So if we don't get enough grant money and other monies coming in to fund that, we will take what is generated in the program and put that back into that.
So in other words, the extra 20 spaces that are being generated by all of these efforts combined are not at risk from other funding. If we were to give you the $60,000, how confident are you that you would be expanding by 20 spaces plus 9 in the summer? I understand the summer is small.
That I know we will do. I went into this from the mindset of, if I don't know that we're going to be able to do it, we're not going to go that far, because like every other program, a small program and a nonprofit can't put yourself at financial risk. And so for us, we know we will be going forward with adding the slots, but whether or not we can get licensing to say that it would be good enough to be able to have that room for a full day program in the summer depends on our ability to have the materials that are needed for that room. So right now, I know that we can do after school and we would be able to work on funding, but it's taking funds from both the EDC and from Let's Grow Kids to be able to make all of this work.
But let's say if you didn't get any funds from Let's Grow Kids or the EDC, what would you would still do the 20 additional spaces, but not the 9? Is that what, or I mean, you wouldn't be able to do?
We might not be able to do the 9. We don't know. I would try to hold that within our current space, but that would be a much tighter space with the number of kids. But we would still have the needs for our outdoor, because right now our outdoor playground, we've taken it down to kind of bare ground and it all needs to be built up from there. Yeah. We need new fencing. It's all main items that are required in order to have children using those spaces.
I think, Ruth, I think that, and John, this might help clarify things a bit. So there's the indoor and outdoor requirements of physical nature infrastructure builds for these facilities due to the outdoor playtime requirements. So WCCC has 100% requirement for outdoor equipment, which they're getting grant monies from in process from LGK. And in the interior, the infrastructure bill that they're borrowing, that those desks and chairs and sound installation and whatnot, that will fuel the entire process. So they can't, it's true, Ruth, that you can't have, you need outside and you need inside, or you can't,
Right.
it's not going to work because it's not allowed, right?
Well, it's one, that it's not allowed, but two, that it's hard enough to maintain really good activities while you're going through a renovation of your outdoor space with 27 kids using the space. But then you're taking that up and doubling, you're going up 40% and trying to maintain that and provide quality programming. So it's not just about meeting minimum requirements, it's also about the quality of the programming we're
Right.
providing.
I think Logan's mentioned that with TCC, they could have more children, but the quality would go down because of the size of the space. So there's a balancing act there, as I understand it, which makes sense. Carrie?
Sorry, Rod, I have one very quick question.
Go ahead,
Just
John,
on the
sorry.
use, sorry, Carrie, on the use of the Billings room, how often is that, like, in the last year, how often has that happened? Is it once a year or once a week?
No, I would say, I can tell you, since I've been there almost 5 years and we've not been able to use it maybe 3 times.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It's if there's like a large
okay, that's fine.
funeral, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to know, yeah, it's very
Go
rare.
ahead,
All right,
Carrie.
thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that having been with WCCC since its beginnings, the playground equipment that was allowed 27 years ago is very different from what's allowed now. And the whole amount of turf you have to have and the softer ground and all of those regulations, which change constantly, by the way, in childcare, have changed a great deal. So that is why so many things had to be removed for safety reasons as deemed by the state. And so we did not have a budget for that much funding to be able to do proper fencing. Now there's a different requirement around fencing. There's space requirements that must be met. And in the winter, there are plowing situations at the church where the smaller playground gets all the snow load. So to make that outdoor space as usable as possible, not only for play, but also as a classroom year round, that's really a critical area for the funding that will provide quality outdoor time on many levels.
Thank you, Carrie. Any other questions, Larry, Mika, any questions for WCCC?
I
All
don't
right.
have any. I feel good about what I've heard. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Good presentations. Okay, fantastic. So we have one left, Rainbow, who is here to speak on behalf of the Rainbow. There's Lauren.
I am here. Hi,
Lauren.
I'm Lauren. I have the projections here if you want me to pull those up. They're
Okay.
updated from the last ones because we had
How
some
do I-
updates on healthcare.
How do I allow you to do that? Let me see. Allow anyone zooming know how to make-
Go to share screen at the bottom and
Yeah.
you have a little thing that says allow multiple people. And there's a little carrot next to the share screen.
Advanced. Content files, basic.
No. You see
You
the
can
little,
also make her the co-host.
Okay. I do
Little
that. How do I do
Dots
that?
in her picture screen. There's little dots.
I hit the little dot, spot, make host,
co-host
change, make co-host.
or host, yeah.
I'm gonna try make host. Okay, here we go. All right, I think it happened. Lauren, do you have all the power? Please
I
tell
have
me.
all the power.
Yes. Please give me
you.
heat then.
Oh man. What? Oh, sorry, it's not letting me share on my end.
Share. Okay, yeah, I think you can do it.
I'm set. All right, I might need to send it to you then right now.
All right, you want to email it over?
Yeah, super quickly, and I'll just start talking about.
All right, hold on. I think you have to make me the host again. Share screen.
Sorry, I don't know why that's not-
Bear with us, Zoomies. We're doing it. I know it's late, but this is what's gonna happen. I think screen sharing was disabled.
I sent it back.
I had it originally in mine, but I'm not the controller anymore. Video, share screen. Share all, automatically show all. Show, yeah, I don't have it. Can you make me the host again? I'm the host again. All right, now I'm just waiting on the email. Okay, perfect. Now I need your bank account information. All right, 1 second. 1 second. All right, here we go. All right, I want to go on this. All right, this share Excel. It's happening. Okay.
Right.
That
Thank you.
That was moderately painful, and I apologize. Okay, are we ready?
Are we ready?
All right.
So I'm representing Rainbow Play School. I believe our director, Leah, is still on, as well as some of our board members, Kelly and Patrick. For those who don't know, we serve children 6 weeks through pre-K, and we are a year-round program. So we actually have a fall-spring program that's kind of our school year, and then we also have a summer program. Currently, we have 7, or I guess for October, we had 7 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff, and we've been serving 24 children. That's been pretty consistent for this year in general. We are looking to the EDC to help us increase our staff by 5 more for a total of 12 full-time teachers and 1 part-time staff member. And that would help us increase enrollment by 17 to 21 children, probably closer to that 20 to 21 children, all within the ages of 6 weeks to 3 years old. So in that toddler range that the community really needs right now. We are already licensed to support that number of children. So our license is set, our rooms are set, we have all the furnishings, we have all the outdoor space, we own our building. So we are set on all of that stuff. This ask that we have, we're asking for $140,000, and that would be to cover the costs of higher wages for our current staff, the new staff at higher wages, as well as health benefits. We have not been able to offer health benefits previously due to the cost, but given the work that our staff does, we feel we need to get them to obviously better compensation and health benefits as soon as we can. We are projecting that this expansion plan will take us about 14 months. So if you look from October through December of 2023, and at that point, this plan will put us in a position where we'll have a sustainable business model for Rainbow moving forward. We have not had that since we moved in this building. We bought the building in 2018 and moved in. We had our first fall session in the fall of 2019. So we didn't even get a full school year before COVID hit in this new building. So this will be more staff, more children than we've ever had in this building, and then more than we actually had planned for. Part of having 12 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff is similar to other programs in the fact that we need to have built-in substitutes. So this would allow both our program director and our assistant director to be out of the classroom and to only need to step in if someone was out sick, if someone needed to take vacation. Currently, both of them are in the classroom quite a bit. If you look at these projections, We are on target thus far with these projections. So we did hire one new staff member in October, and we have started to enroll additional children in our infant room. So we're starting to get off the ground on that front. We are hopeful that we will have an additional staff member come January. And if that's the case, then we can continue enrollment. But we are estimating we're going to be losing roughly $10,000 a month during this expansion plan. So that, I don't know if you guys have questions on these projections.
I have one quick question. Where do you fund, where have you funded your deficit, and where are you planning to fund your deficit? Until you get funding from us, if you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're prepared. So we started increasing our current staff salaries at the beginning of this year because we knew we needed to do that. And we do have some funds to cover that time frame. We also have some grant funds that have covered it to date, but now we are starting kind of over and would need to raise more funds. So we have a small buffer. It's not large, but we have a small buffer until we can raise more funds.
And Lauren, I just want to voice also that some of that was supplemented by COVID funds. So there were COVID grants that came through to help sustain the program that will be expiring and won't be sustainable after a certain date.
Correct.
Lauren, how many children 6 weeks to pre-K does each person watch? What's the ratio, teacher to child?
So the ratio changes in each classroom. So for our infants, which is kind of that, I mean, Leah can probably speak better to this with the variances currently in place, but for our infant room, it's 1 to 4. For our 2 to 3 room, for that kind of toddler group, it's 1 to 5. And then for pre-K, it's 1 to 10.
And when you hire one of the teachers, is it specialized for the infants, or is an infant person allowed to do the other 2 groups, or is it sort of how's that work?
So the infant room has been the most challenging to find an infant lead teacher because that is quite specialized. There are staff who are better suited for pre-K and only are interested in pre-K, and there are staff who are better suited for toddlers and only interested in toddlers. So it kind of depends on the applicants that come through as to how this expansion would unfold, but we're hopeful. Our focus right now is on a lead infant teacher, given that's been the hardest role to fill since we opened this building in 2019. It's been really challenging to keep a lead infant teacher in that space.
So if the lead infant teacher gets hired with the great salary and benefits package, and then they get sick, is one of the other teachers legally able to step in and take care of the infants?
Yes, our director can step into any classroom. So that's kind of, if a staff member was out sick, Leah or Taryn, our assistant director, would be able to step in.
Okay, so because we're also just, my point is that not only is the money providing the expansion you need to become a sustainable, better facility, but it's also providing the redundancy, which has, I would argue, great economic impact in the negative if people have to go pick their kids up in the middle of a day that they weren't expecting, and so on and so forth.
Correct, which we experienced that last year. We did not have any additional staff. All of our staff were in classrooms. And so if someone was out sick, it meant we had to kind of shuffle around, ask families if anyone could keep their children home. So this built-in staff, which is how we started this year, and how we kind of worked through the summer, does allow for other staff to even take their vacation time, which they just haven't really been able to do.
Okay, good. Any questions for Lauren, or anything about the numbers, John or Mika, Larry? Larry's been quiet.
It's late for him.
It is late. It is late. Anything?
I don't have any questions right now. No, thank you.
All right. I have no further questions. John, anything, you have a stern look there. What do you
Oh,
got?
no. I just want to say that when, Todd, you're probably going to offer some summary, but I just want to say personally, when we started out, I don't know, however many months ago, I did not think we would get to this place because the kind of discussion that at least we at the EDC heard from the community and from the providers wasn't focused on all of this hard work to grow. You may have been focused on it, but we weren't hearing that. And I think that what you've all done, irrespective of what specific decisions we make, I think the work that you've all done to address this problem and to think about the unique approaches that you've each taken with your programs and so forth is absolutely spectacular. And I think it's incredible. It's not what I would have guessed a year ago. I was hoping that it would be this, but it's exceeded my expectations. I think it's fantastic work, and I hope we can fund all of it. I don't know if we can, but I hope we can.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. I mean, I said in my listserv post, I've learned so much. You all really are heroes. And, you know, with the amount of time you have to put in and energy to be successful and get by in a day by day with the challenges you've all had, it's just really impressive. So, you know, with that, I would say that, you know, I would like my fellow colleagues I'd like to make a motion to present these 4 proposals for review at the December EDC meeting for discussion and other opportunities. Does anyone object to that, or is anyone in favor of such a motion to present these documents to the EDC and allow further discussion at our December meeting?
100%. Fully on board.
Larry?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Todd, this is Elizabeth. It sounds like we have an opportunity. There was an ask by John to do some revisions to the TCC proposal.
Yes, I think we'll get with you on that. The procedural thing that I'd like to just get through is to be able to acknowledge the work you brought, that we can bring it to the commission as a whole and take it out of committee. But yes, we will get back with some suggestions for that next meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Now, they would all have to come to the EDC and make their presentations. That it's their grants. Yeah.
Yes. The timing, you know, this is all coming up rather quickly, provider friends. But I know we can make it work and find the time to do what we did today and get together and state the case and make this presentable. So hopefully that it's the first. John, what's the date of our meeting?
Thursday, December 1st, 6:30 p.m.
Thursday, December 1st, 6:30 p.m. So let's go and agree that we will, I don't think we need John, do we need a real motion and a vote for this to go forward? I don't know.
Well, I think the 3 of you, I don't think I'm officially on the
No,
group.
you're not, but I wanted you to be. You didn't want to do it. You know, you said no.
I think
I'm not
you and
doing
Meek and Larry have just, well, yeah, why don't you just take a vote? I mean,
okay,
it's a public
so
meeting.
I'm going to make an official motion to present these documents to the next EDC meeting, the December meeting, where the providers can come and state their case for review. Do I have a second?
Second it.
I'll second that. Or
All those
Larry
in favor?
second.
Or third. Yeah.
Aye.
All those in favor, aye. Aye. Larry, aye.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, this isn't the longest meeting ever. I talk more than anyone all the time, so I'll stop now and say thank you all very much. I appreciate it. We'll be in touch individually, and we look forward to honing these and having them presented at the EDC meeting in December.
Thank you, everyone, for your hard work. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you
thank
for
you
the
all very
time.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, adjourn. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how to end the Zoom, so I'm just gonna keep staring at the screen here until people drop off and shut my computer lid. True story. No idea how to end it. Meetings. You got Ruth. It's just you and me. I don't know how to end the meeting.
Todd. So
Just close the Zoom.
go up to zoom.us. Try
Okay.
that.
Oh
And
yeah.
go
I just
down to quit Zoom.
quit. All right. Have a great night. Really
You
appreciate
too.
you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.